Okay, to start off folks, let's do a little plan of action with your colour scheme, your highlights, midtones and shadows. Let's practice them on a bit of paper. First thing I'd like you to start with is your shadow colour. So here I've mapped in all of the darkest areas with the blue, and then I'm going to add on my red to create the purple colour. You're leaning pretty hard if you're going over the top of another oil pastel so that you're going to be creating a strong enough colour. Now that I've finished my shadow colour, I'm going to tick that off and I'm going to go into my mid-tone, starting with the darkest mid-tone, which is the red. Make sure that I do right now is I'm going to blend that off of the shadow so that it's a little bit more seamless, so it's going from the darkest to the next darkest colour. Midtones that I'm adding in just now, remember they are still shadows per se, but they are slightly lighter than, for example, the edges of the nose and inside of the mouth. So these are still technically classed as a shadow, which is why they are sort of blending out from the darker shadow they done first. See, I have used too much oil pastel, so I'm going back in with my eraser to make that sort of lighter point at the edge of the nose. So don't be afraid to go back in with an eraser, you can take some of that pastel away. I'm done with my dark mid-tone, I'm going to go in with the lighter mid-tone, which is the orange, and once again I'm going to blend that out from the previous red mid-tone so that it's a little bit more seamless. Once again, this is still a shadow technically, so make sure that you are just looking at the sort of lightest shadows on the face, which basically are just not a highlight, and that's where you would be putting in this lighter mid-tone, so it's not necessarily very dark. Can definitely see that I've left out these sort of white spaces which are so much lighter, and we need to make sure they're kept for our last colour. here we're going to go in with that last colour, the highlight colour, and that's going to go into all of those white spaces, because these are the areas of the face that the light source is hitting, the high points of the face, which need to be highlighted with a very light colour. So in this case our lightest colour is yellow, and this nice yellow colour was chosen because my darkest shadows are purple, and these are some nice complementary colours which will really link to that Fauvist technique of dramatic contrasting colours. Really going to top off the skin tones by applying white on top of those yellow highlight areas to really make it pop and to be the lightest that it possibly can be, just to make those high points as highlighted as possible. So here I'm going to move on to the rest of the clothing, and I'm going to use exactly the same techniques of the shadows, the midtones and the highlights to finish this off the same way I did the face, just to make it all come together. Okay, so here I'm going to think about the background, and I'm going to try and choose an appropriate colour for this background that I think is going to complement the face. So here I've went with a sort of pale blue to complement that orange on the left hand side, and then I've also went with a pale green to sort of complement the reds that are in the drawing as well on the right hand side. So this is a little bit of a Fauvist technique to use 2 block colours in the background or more to make a real impact.